Huh. I don't understand any of this stuff. Anyway, hello and welcome to another fun-filled edition of Adam's Music Box, the Sunday streaming edition. In this case, now, last week, Rick Beato put out a video that has since gone viral. I commented on it. Loads of people have now commented on it. Fellow musicians, music educators, music critics, lawyers have commented on it. Lots of different kind of people, because I think it really struck a nerve. It's really a case of it's really a case of your stereotypical evil corporation against the little guy. And this one evil corporation has another corporation seemingly by the balls. And again, both have jigged a system to make the little guy who works hard, the musician, the content creator, the educator, the commentator, the enthusiast, they've joined forces, willingly or unwillingly, and we'll get into that, to make the lives of creative people hellish. And a lot of people have really taken to this because everyone loves an underdog, especially when the underdog happens to be more talented than the overdog. So here's the problem. Rick Beato, if you found this small channel, I'm sure you know who he is, because he is the king of YouTube music education and music journalism. And he has had his channel now for, I think, around 10 years, but in the last sort of 6, 7, he's just rocketed. I mean, he's incredibly famous, all of it deserved, and he discusses music. He films his shows in his music studio because he was a composer and producer, a guitar player, multi-instrumentalist before founding this viral channel. And he goes over the anatomy of songs and other pieces of music, and he interviews musicians. And some of this involves playing bits of an officially recorded track of music, the master recording, as you would expect in online music journalism and music education. And legally, there's absolutely no problem with that. That's what's so disgusting about it. It's not that the law is being an ass, although in some ways it is, but it's that these companies are being an ass. So this is what the law says. All material is copyrighted. All creative content is automatically copyrighted once it's creative. And of course, the copyright owner can relinquish it. He can say, use it as you will, as Tom Lehrer did, the great satirist. Others have done the same. But generally, once it's on a tape, or once music has filled the air and is publishable, once a painting has been painted, a sculpture has been sculpted, these things are copyrighted. But there are crucial legal exceptions designed to make certain professions possible. There's a doctrine in the law called fair use, which says that, right, there are certain instances where someone can use someone else's copyrighted material without needing to pay them or get permission. And what are these instances? Well, one is commentary. So these are things like journalism. Criticism is also on the list. So again, all things that fall under the umbrella of journalism. A perfect instance, let's say, Tom Ford at local news number 4 is reviewing a film that is put out by Warner. And they play, 30 seconds of the film. Don't have to pay for it because that is journalism. So that's the fair use there. The Another one, and I'm not, there's many, but I'm just going through the main ones. Another is education. If you're in the midst of educating someone, then you can use copyrighted material to further the cause of that education. It's what makes things like, I don't know, schools and universities and colleges possible. And it's also what makes, have you ever been in a school play and you're singing a copyrighted song? Well, the reason the school doesn't get sued is because that's considered education. It's part of arts education in the schools, which I think that they've phased out in place of your standard issued brainwashing. So, what else? Satire. Parody and satire is fair use. How do you think Family Guy exists? And so Rick Beato falls into two of these categories because he is both doing journalism and doing education. And In the days of mainstream media, this was understood. So if there was someone on the PBS, what is it, the McLaren Neil News Hour, who was commenting on a record and they played 20 seconds of it, PBS wouldn't get a lawsuit or a threat of a lawsuit because these things were understood. But now that the internet has come along, you have small content creators that are being frankly harassed and badgered by big corporations for the simple reason that they can. They don't, the average YouTuber doesn't have a lawyer on retainer, let alone a team of lawyers. And so they are badgering these people, they are abusing these people, claiming copyright infringement for things that are very much open and shut prima facie cases of fair use. And so, what is the answer? Well, Rick Beato has one, and it's one that I think, at least in the short term, is going to be very important, which is unlike the average YouTuber, he's achieved a level of success where he can now hire a lawyer, and he has. And he is now fighting Universal Music Group, because that's the big bad corporation that is making all these copyright claims. He is going to fight them in court. It's the only way he can win, because YouTube is agnostic, but they claim that they're agnostic, but they're really on the side of the big corporations because they put the burden of proof on the little guy, on the content creator, to defend themselves against accusations of fair use, of accusations of copyright infringement when they're engaged in fair use, when the way it should be is that the big corporations should have the burden of proof on them to prove that the so-called copyright infringer was not engaged in fair use. So I mean, that's the way it would work in the real world in a court of law. If Universal Music sues, Joe Blow for copyright infringement and Joe Blow claims fair use, Universal would have to prove that it isn't fair use. Now, not everyone can hire a lawyer, but if Rick Beato sets a precedent in the court of public opinion while also winning his legal dispute against Universal, and I think as bad as Universal is, they'll probably just agree that he's right, because what he's doing is so obviously fair use, they wouldn't want to waste their own time in court, you would think. So that victory in the court of public opinion will hopefully trickle down to other content creators that don't necessarily have the sort of platform as big as Rick Beato to shine a light on this. And it's already partly worked because it's got people talking. Throughout the world of the internet and other interwebs, people are discussing this very important matter for really the first time in a long time. But what's the long-term solution? The long-term solution needs to be of something totally different. I've talked about this before, but I'm going to say it until someone with a bit more reach picks up on it. Right now, we have a system where if you want to use copyrighted material outside of the realm of fair use, you need a system where you need to approach the copyright holder and work out some sort of licensing agreement. These things take time, these things take money. No one who wants to, let's say, put a YouTube video together of someone skateboarding down the street to a soundtrack of, I don't know, Billy Joel, famous skateboarder him, they're not going to bother with it. So they're either just going to take the risk and get their video muted or demonetized or censored, or they're just going to use crappy library music. Here's the solution. There should be a reversal of the burden of proof, a reversal of the relationship between copyright holder and content creator. And this is how it would look. Everybody should be able to use everything for every purpose, so long as the financial gatekeeper, in this case YouTube, is willing to do an equitable profit share. Now, what would that mean? Well, let's say that you have a video and you're skateboarding, and maybe for 30 seconds of a 10-minute video, you're playing Fleetwood Mac streams. Okay, give Fleetwood Mac 30 seconds worth of whatever profit is generated from that video, minus, of course, what YouTube themselves takes from their ad revenue. So that's why it's profit, not revenue. So I think that would be fair. Let's say that a bot, or if that fails, a whom, can detect that someone is engaging in fair use. well, that should be all the more reason to say, look, this is completely Rick Beato's intellectual property. And to make life easier, we should let all content creators using copyrighted material, when they're about to upload it or go live or whatever, to just tick a box that says fair use or copyright profit share. How simple would that be? Obviously, if you abuse it by saying it's fair use when it isn't, then there can be some sort of warning for that. And otherwise, just let it be a profit share, because algorithmic tools, AI, could very easily determine what percentage of time out of that video is being used up by Fleetwood Mac or Billy Joel or whoever. And is it, is it playing at full volume? Is it, down in the mix? Is it acting as an underscore? And it can develop a profit share accordingly. That way, everybody wins. Everyone who is making content gets paid. And in cases where things are fair use, the law gets to do its job, which is to protect educators, journalists, satirists, and others from this harassment by Universal Music and many other major companies. I don't see what the downside would be to this situation. Now, some might say, well, you're taking away the artist's ability to exploit his or her content. Well, kind of, but you're really taking away the record label's ability to exploit it, whether the artist likes it or not. But there's a solution for that too. Artists can, or their copyright holders, their management teams, their publishers, their record companies, they can opt out of this system. I think it would be very foolish, because this would allow more money to be circulated more widely, in addition to the promotional effects of introducing what in some cases is very old music to a new generation of people, something that Rick Beato is doing and has done very successfully. But you could always opt out of it. But the standard system should be an opt-in, where copyright holders say, look, you can use our music on YouTube, on X, on TikTok, on anything you want. And we'll have an automated profit share system for things that are not fair use, like, let's say, someone making a creative movie or a short or a documentary. And then for things that are fair use, you click the button, and so long as the button is clicked honestly and fairly, you don't get all of these threatening letters from the record labels, or from gaming companies, or from film or television companies that use the YouTube gatekeeping system as a means of harassing people. Now, an interesting question among one of the many reactions I've seen to this Beato situation is, well, why are the record labels doing it? Because don't they realize that, one, it's not like Rick Beato is stealing money from them. That would be objectively absurd. And thing number two, he's actively promoting their business, because it's their business to get people to stream the music or to buy physical formats, for the three guys who still do that. And what's Rick Beato doing? Well, by introducing music to people that might not have heard of it, or if they have, might not have thought of it for 30 years, he is basically saying, go out there and listen to the music. In fact, he is overtly saying it. He is overtly out there promoting this music. So why wouldn't the record labels actually not just sympathize with, but actually support Rick Beato in doing this? Well, to understand the stupidity of the music industry when it comes to these things, all you have to do is look at what they did to Napster. Now, Napster came along as a peer-to-peer file sharing system, file sharing network that revolutionized music. Yes, because it was free, but I think more importantly for the average user, because it was convenient, it was user friendly, and the selection was limitless. Those, I think, were the real selling points of Napster to the people who adopted it at the end of the 1990s. Now, what the music industry should have done is say, this is revolutionary. This is going to change the game. We need to invest in this. We need to take these people into our business orbit, and then we'll find a way to monetize it. Because as Mark Zuckerberg, I'm not a huge fan of his, as he himself said, he said, look, when you have a good idea that has legs and becomes successful, even if you, the creator of this platform or this idea, doesn't know how to initially monetize it at first, some clever guy in accounting will come along and figure out how. And that's what the music industry should have done with Napster. Acquire Napster, partner with it, do a joint venture, put the guy who runs it on your board of directors, and then figure out how to make money out of it, which of course people just a few years later did. Steve Jobs with iTunes, and later the big streaming services, the biggest of which being Spotify. But no, they decided to sue Napster into submission. And what that meant is that the record labels lost a lot of their power to the tech companies, because who was it that found the solution to monetizing this online listening, downloading, and later streaming technology? It was Apple, Steve Jobs. It was the tech world, not the music industry world. And now it seems that they still haven't learned their lesson. Hell, I know he probably wouldn't take it, but they should be sponsoring Rick Beato, not trying to destroy his livelihood. How stupid can these people be? And they are stupid, and they probably have stupid lawyers saying, well, we need to get him because all copyright violations are equal, fair use or not. Well, for fair use, they're actually breaking the law by not allowing fair use to run its course, and they're bullying him at this point. But just thinking of it logically, why not sponsor this guy? He is doing you a favor. Young kids don't care about music as much as other generations did. And here is this very talented guy educating people and proselytizing through journalism people into the wonders of these artists from previous generations. Universal Music and the other record labels should be kissing Rick Beato's ass instead of threatening to put him out of business with a legal bullying technique. And what that shows is not only that they're abusing their power, and in the case of fair use, which applies to Rick, they're even abusing the law, but it shows that they have learned nothing since Napster in the 1990s. Nothing. And that is really pathetic. And when the music industry eventually totally goes away, and it will very soon, and it's all just basically independent artists and Blackstone owning the catalogs of the legacy artists, I told you so. The music industry, in terms of the record labels, what little is left of them, they deserve to fail. They have not learned any of the lessons from the Napster era. That's what I think. Let me know what you think. And as always, like, subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.